Trench Crusade has a very special place in my heart. I'll happily admit that it is a calloused, deep, dark place, largely devoid of hope or love, but a place nevertheless, as it was one of those settings which had so much potential there for a moment. It really had an opportunity to do something that virtually no other tabletop wargame had done, to really move in, freshen up the experience, and provide Games Workshop with actual genuine competition from not simply a wargame perspective, but as a pro-consumer stance as well. Now, that position has largely completely disappeared as the sheer scale of the financial success of Trench Crusade became apparent. Apparently, there were far more gullible fools out there eager to be parted from their wealth than the developers of Trench Crusade initially thought, and so their initial promises of a agnostic tabletop wargame where they would never restrict what models you use to play their game well, all of that has long since disappeared. In fact, now they have competitions where you must use their models explicitly, but we'll get to that a little bit later. The release of the community license was then the biggest remaining opportunity for the developers to actually uphold some of the promises they had made and keep faith with the people who supported them. And that community license is now, after over a year, I think, actually here. And it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect from a bunch of developers who have turned lying into a national pastime. So, let's have a look at it, shall we? Today, we are pleased to officially launch the Trench Crusade community license. What does that mean to you? To put it simply, these are the rules that dictate and clarify what you can and cannot do with the Trench Crusade IP, including the art miniatures and other intellectual property, in terms of projects that are distributed in any way, commercial or otherwise. Okay, so not just for commercial uses, but all of them. Right. Please note these rules do not apply to personal projects that are not distributed, commercial or otherwise, such as kit bashes or models sculpted for your own personal use. It also only applies to projects that aim to be within the Trench Crusade space. We obviously do not own the concept of alternative World War I settings. Well, see, there's the problem right there, because a little bit later on in the screen here, they will talk about an example of their models being taken and illegally appropriated, according to them, into other people's models. And they mention here the Maximilian Knight as well. So, let's have a quick little look at the Maximilian Knight, shall we? This is it. And you kind of immediately see the problem. If you didn't tell me that this was from Trench Crusade, I would have no earthly idea whatsoever. It's just a big dude in armor. That's all. I mean, there aren't even any crosses on him, or anything that signifies that this is in the Trench Crusade universe. The closest you come is what appears to be, I guess, angel wings on his shields, I suppose, and the fact that you've got some yeomen in the background carrying a rifle. That's not unique to Trench Crusade in any way, nor is this particularly identifiable as World War I either. This is literally just a guy in gigantified Gothic-style plate armor. The most unique aspect of him is the fact that he's carrying a ginormous, idiotic-looking engine on his back. Like, this civilization has somehow figured out how to make a piloted suit of massive mech armor, for all intents and purposes, with all of the servos and control technology inherent within such an invention, and yet it runs off a fucking diesel engine that you mounted to your ass? What? Oh, this universe is internal. But anyways, one of the examples that I could manage to find was this one, Recto Maximilian Knight. And this then is apparently an example of an IP violating model. And immediately, it's like, this is the issue. This here has a different helmet, has a different shield, has a different weapon, has different greaves. It's different in basically every single solitary way except for two. One is the fact that it too has an engine to its back, and the second is the silhouette, like the bulge of its front plate. That's about it. The issue here is that your design is so studiously unoriginal that if you're gonna copyright this, you've basically just copyrighted man in armor. And again, if this violates that copyright, well, again, even GW isn't quite this callous with their intellectual property, but let's get back to it. In addition, we are launching the Compatible with Trench Crusade license, which will allow creators to apply to have their creations approved for distribution and marketed with our seal of approval, ultimately giving more choice to the community. So, there is also an actual community license. This community license here isn't a community license at all. This is simply just traditional copyright and nothing else, really. This isn't a community license. Not in any way, shape, or form, but they have promised to do an additional license that you can apply for, and if they then approve you through a manual process, which they warn later on in this writ right here might take forever, so good luck with that, then you will be given a community license to sell compatible with Trench Crusade products. Again, this is the same company that promised that you could use any models you so chose. This post has been a long time coming. We recently talked about it during the Kickstarter. You didn't talk about it, you promised it during the Kickstarter. And I've been working on it since early last year. If it has taken this long to come together, it's not just because we had to prioritize other tasks, like fucking up your deliveries and still not having actually finished them. We've had to adopt it multiple times due to both the growth of the game, like focusing on making plastic miniatures rather than the printed STLs you also promised, for example. An IP, but also in response to what some have done with our IP in the past year. Translation. Our initial community license was actually very liberal, like we promised in the Kickstarter, but the more money we earned, the more conservative we grew. Oh well, hey, don't get me wrong, I sympathize, I just don't approve of the lies. Right, our stance towards community content. We are aware of how much effort some people are putting into creating their own content destined for Trench Crusade, so it's important that we clarify the rules and set expectations here and now. This article aims to clarify the official and honest position regarding community content. That will be a first. We have no issues with creators making money off Trench Crusade. We'll see about that. We love all the crafty stuff our community comes up with, and we honestly find it cooler that our creation can support others. However, this cannot be to the detriment of Factory Fortress, our team, and their livelihoods. Trench Crusade is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that represents the income and careers of our team. We're sure you understand that we do not put our business, that we do need to put our business affairs first. So this is again a lie. They are not going to allow you to do any of this without their direct seal of approval, which only they can issue, and a seal that they're not even guaranteeing that they're ever going to look at in any sort of a reasonable time. This is the truth here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to run away with your money. We still want to maintain our community-focused approach and do something that very few wargames have done before. In spite of the serious tone of this text, which is necessary to underscore how seriously we take it, we want you all to know that we're very pleased to be releasing this license, which is again not a license for anything. We work closely with legal counsel and brand protection consultants to create balanced rules to keep our IP safe whilst allowing independent creators to operate with a clear view of what is allowed and what isn't. We also expect to spend even more time helping creators manage the compliance of their own project through means like compatible with Trench Crusade license. This is one of our commitment to you, our community. This commitment must go both ways, or it will not work in the long term. So what they're saying is they want you to have an opportunity to create stuff. Let's actually look at the rules then, moving past all of the pointless doublespeak fluff. So you're not allowed to make and sell versions of the STL or physical prints. Okay, fair enough. Use of official design, from selling complete sculpts of our official artwork or adopting official designs to another style, we've seen all at this point. So you're not allowed to use official designs, which brings us back to this. This is just a knight in armor, and brings us back to other examples they've made too, like, for example, the Prussian Sturztruppen, for example, this warband right here. This is an example they themselves bring up. This is just Prussians. This is just World War I Pickelhaubes with a piece of armor around the chest and a Reichsadler. That's all this is. This isn't an original design. Copywriting this is like copywriting World War I. And the examples I found of people making STLs like this, well, again, it reinforces the point. In fact, this looks more like a Trench Crusade guy than their actual yeoman right here. This guy has I don't even know what this gay-ass thing is, whereas this guy's got a goddamn electric guitar formed like an eagle. This is a hell of a lot more Trench Crusade than the official goddamn model. Or things like these too. It illustrates the problem. These are just World War I Germans with a Pickelhaube, which was of course discontinued far earlier in the war. If you try to copyright this, you are indeed claiming that you own alternative World War I styles. Now, fair enough, things like the field captain here, for example, that's cool. That's a really solid looking guy right there. That is absolutely copyrightable. The wings, the crown, the giant sword, the vambraces, this is quite unique. This too, to a degree, but all you've basically done is take the hussar hat here with the hussar half cloak and give him some armor and a two-handed sword. Again, if you simply put this thing in isolation or this thing in isolation, it would be very difficult to go, oh, that's a Trench Crusade model, as compared to simply a World War I model. I mean, look at this. This is just a Gewehr 98, down to virtually every single detail right there. It's not even the World War II variant with the cut-off barrel. And it makes it, again, you can see the opposition to set it opposite the Feldkaptan, which is far more unique again. This is where the problem comes down again and again. Misrepresentation. Certain creators have been using names and descriptions identical to our own products. Obviously, this leads to a lot of confusion amongst players of what is official and what is not. No, it doesn't. This is the same argument that Games Workshop makes when they go to a random page called My Mini Factory Dare to Be Human, and they go, oh, well, this is clearly a factory fortress project right here. Never mind all of the other stuff that's on this page too. This is obviously legal nonsense, and it is done for the sake of future legal actions, where they will have to go to court and go, well, we have no idea. Our players couldn't possibly tell the difference between these models right here. Put all these together and you get the case of the Maximilian-class Knight or the Prussian Sturztruppen. There you go. The art and lore were originally revealed as a cool teaser of things to come, as we've done in the past. Sadly though, within weeks, both of these had been copied and were already up for sale with the identical unit names, the Trench Crusade name, and other copied features. Now, that is indeed an example of something that is bad, but once again, as far as I could tell, this is the copied version, and it's not the same. And again, the problem is that your own design is not very unique in this case. Don't get me wrong, Trench Crusade does excellent monsters, fantastic demons, and some really cool, horrifying Christian units as well, but when it comes to their regular units, this is just a giant dude in armor. That's all it is. And trying to copyright that, especially opposite this, I mean, you can probably do it, but it's obvious that you're not doing this out of good faith. Same again with the Sturztruppen. There was another example as well. Now, this is more clear, right? So, Trench Crusade made the mechanized heavy infantry, which they'll mention later too. And I found one knockoff which looks like this. Now, this is absolutely copyright infringement because this is just a straight copy. The pauldrons are the same, the helmet's the same, the like central chest piece and the sort of kind of gorget is the same, except for like the rivulets, I guess, and the leggings, Grievous, are the same too. This is absolutely copyright infringement. This is a copy one-to-one. This is far more difficult to argue. And at least this guy is a little bit unique. You've got the very classic like Saleh on top, like a little bit of German helmet. The armor itself looks bulky, kind of like it's kind of primitive in a way. Now, he does carry just a Maxim gun. There's no originality whatsoever with the weapon. It's just a Maxim gun. But this is a far clearer argument, right? A knockoff effect of this is that we now only reveal new content when it's ready for sale by us. And again, this is not like a copy problem. This is a your designs are really simple problem. Whilst we very much enjoy posting these teasers and all the excitement it generates, this is an example of the entire community paying for the sins of a small group of profiteers seeking to capitalize on the success of Trench Crusade while claiming to support it. We remain undeterred, however, and still want to push ahead with this for the sake of the community at large. Our community license revolves around two main principles: respect for the official material and representation. Official material. We shouldn't have to ask most players reading this, let alone professional creators, yet here we are. Please do not use official material such as concept design, art, miniature, components, or products as the basis for your own creation. This means partially or wholly, and also includes adopting our designs to other styles as well. Partially or wholly. Again, I bring you back to the idea that they don't own alternative World War I settings. That is what they are arguing right here. The core of this community license project means to allow people to create their own Trench Crusade adjacent content, not copy ours. Additionally, whilst we stand by the game being miniature agnostic, that is not intended as an invitation to copy our IP. Yes, it is. That is literally what a miniature agnostic game is. It means anyone can use any models whatsoever to represent your game. That's what it means, quite literally. Representation. Whether inadvertently or purposefully, we've seen a lot of creators cross the line recently when it comes to naming and advertising their products. This goes from flat out calling the listings Trench Crusade, unit name, faction name, to creating approximations of our logo or fiction compatible with, like labels and icons that are images and descriptions, despite the latter being a previously announced program that has not been live until now outside a very limited number of exceptions. So this is actually fair. Yes, you should not be calling your products official Trench Crusade products. However, things like, for example, I believe these here are marked as Trench Crusade and compatible, which is the tabletop and then the sub-genre of Trench Crusade, that is a bit more of a dodgy territory. On the one hand, stuff like this is from Factory Fortress, of course, Incarnate, so I'm assuming that's the official one. That's obviously official. Whereas things like this, it's clearly like designed to sort of be in the Trench Crusade universe, or things like these two, the Temple of War. These are far closer approximations of the actual original models. And is it? Yeah, it's just on the tabletop Trench Crusade as the general category here. As well, how do people find these if you don't mark them as, okay, well, this is for Trench Crusade? It's not saying that it's official, it's using the tab system on the site. So if anything, this seems like a thing that you should be taking up with the actual sites themselves rather than the creators. Whilst creators have a right to fair use of our intellectual property, when that use deliberately or unintentionally causes confusion among buyers, causes a reputational damage to us, directly competes with our own products, or causes harm, then that does not fall under fair use. Once again, we expect professional creators to know the difference. Sort of. So fair use is a plethora of things that they will compare against your product. So one of the things is whether or not people can reasonably tell the difference. Another is indeed whether or not you are competing directly with the producers. In this case, absolutely. As again, I've said before, I don't even mind the idea of policing your IP in this particular way, or even having a community license with a revenue split or anything like that. All of that is honestly fine by me. The problem is that you lie about it. Compatible with Trench Crusade. Alongside this community license comes the Compatible with Trench Crusade license to support and promote creators who play by the rules and generally want to support the game and community. So this is the separate one. This is a separate agreement that must be applied for. It builds off the main community license with a few additional stipulations. If accepted, it will allow you to advertise your creation as Trench Crusade compatible, which includes a set of logos you can use. The license can be accessed via the community license page. Please note, we expect an extremely high volume of submissions as an existing existing creators seek to apply for their back catalogue. We'll get to everyone as soon as we possibly can, but do expect a certain amount of delay to begin with. Additionally, we will only be going over those once every 1 or 2 weeks, as we have to prioritize other company tasks. Translation: we're not gonna do this. We might look at applications from people we know, and we're going to hand out licenses to people we particularly like, but 90% of users' applications will never even be read. This is a placating measure to go, oh, you know, we have a thing, because again, we've come here to compliance with a two-week grace period to take down your stuff. You will notice none of this is in any way a community license. None of these are special privileges or allowances or anything. It's just basic copyright. This isn't a community license. It grants the community absolutely nothing, and it will be enforced via AI. As they go here, yes, we do use AI to check, and we have loads of takedown orders. We had to issue almost 3,000 takedowns last year, which is not something our team can handle unless we were to employ a fairly substantial in-house legal team. Okay, so remember this, they can't issue all of these takedown orders, right? Our partners use AI tools to track potential infringement. However, they are not enforced via AI. Everything is reviewed by an agent trained in our IP, and our team provides clarification when needed. We can't do this, but we're totally doing it. No, again, they are liars. This system is fully automated. The AI trawls the internet for things like Trench Crusade compatible, and it issued the takedown notice to the site itself. They are not spending time checking this manually. As themselves stated, they don't have the capacity to do so. It's either, best case scenario, an intern at this company that has been given a booklet with which to identify their IP and still gets it wrong a lot of the time, or they send them an email and then they need to do it themselves anyways. On this too. Additionally, we do not ask platforms to remove them or close storefronts unless the seller in question refused to comply with previous takedowns. This too is simply just legalese doublespeak idiocy to try and make the particularly mushy-brained customers out there think that they're not doing it. Oh, we're not going to ask the page to take people down. Except you already have. I've talked to people whose Kickstarters you have taken down without speaking to them. Lying. Can't say that on YouTube. So, and then they go on some of the more examples right here and what is good usage. And what annoys me too is, so they've got the example here. Now this one is quite unique. That's very nice. But this. So we've got the big dude in armor, and we've got the little guys in lighter armor here with the same type of weaponry. Except these guys are using like World War I British style helmets. Again, this is kind of just World War I dudes, but this is okay, whereas this is not. So basically, your copyright claim, your IP security in this case, rests near solely upon the shapes of their helmets. And of course, this is only a system that is going to continue widening outwards, as at this point, I am utterly convinced that they are deliberately creating designs that are as bland as possible to extend their IP as widely as possible, to cover basically the World War I niche with dirt in its entirety. And one of the ways I will point this out as well is, look at these guys here, or look at the Maximilian Knight. Again, if you didn't know this was Trench Crusade, what would clue you into it? Exactly, like what part of this is a Trench Crusade unique model? They don't have any crosses, they've got no holy iconography on them, they've got a rice adler, that's about it. The gas masks? No. The faceplates? No. The fact that they have a chest armor? No. Those were used in real life as well. The sole singular unique aspects of these guys is the shoulder guard? I guess? or the slightly more ornate armor on this guy. That's about the sole singular unique aspects of this, and nothing of this screams Trench Crusade either. You would imagine that in a universe in which you are being invaded by the literal hordes of hell, the giant motorized knight would find some way to mount a cross on his back, or at least one on his shield, or on his breastplate, or on his helmet, or maybe form his weapon like a cross or something, any sort of holy iconography at all. Instead, all you get is his shoulder pad kind of looks like a angel wing, maybe? Sort of? And his shield has some maybe wings on them, I guess. For a universe in which we know God is real and you're fighting demons every day, people are sure not very religious, are they? And that would be a fine argument again for making the models unique. Like, you can do things like this. This model is more unique due to its silhouette. It's rather big, it's rather bulky. You really should still be bolting some things to it that makes it immediately identifiable as Trench Crusade, rather than just an armored guy with a Maxim, but I can kind of see this one, at least, but this is just Gothic armor in a larger scale. This is just Prussian stormtroopers with pickelhaubes and everything. I mean, did you ever cease to think, perhaps, that in a universe like this, instead of the pickelhaub, they might have little crosses on top of their heads? It feels more and more as if the Trench Crusade universe is growing rather agnostic in a very different way. In conclusion, we think this is an exciting new step in the evolution of Trench Crusade, and we hope you agree. We look forward to the weird and wonderful things that our people of the community will bring to Trench Crusade. Which they won't, because this is literally just a we decide what is and isn't acceptable license. There is nothing in here that grants the community any specific rights beyond those they already have under fair use. It simply offers another opportunity to send in an application that will near certainly be ignored for months at a time, if even looked at. One almost wonders why I bother talking about this, but again, the thing is, Trench Crusade had an opportunity to be something genuinely interesting, a religiously focused experience on a genuinely good versus evil conflict, where you could explore a lot of interesting topics about morality in extreme situations, and how religion might cope with those extreme situations, how people might cope with such extreme situations. And the idea as well that it would be a wargame first and foremost for community freedom too, was really interesting, as that is the exact opposite of Games Workshop's approach. Meanwhile now, let me introduce you to the Crimson Chalice, their painting competition, where amongst other things they have rules such as all models must be produced and or designed by a factory fortress, official STLs, resin and plastic models are all acceptable, except for in the free category, and get a load of this one. 13. No entry may contain any real-world references, including political, cultural, or religious references. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for the political or cultural there, but religious references? Your fucking game is... Now, of course, this is a nonsensical rule, as a bunch of their own models have religious references on them, but not the recent ones, which again, it really feels as if they're trying to distance themselves from the whole Christian thing, doesn't it? But like, this is obviously just going to be another thing that, like Trench Crusade's previous statements, where they go, we don't allow any politics, except for the things we define as non-political. For example, by these rules, a character wielding a pride flag would be acceptable. I guarantee it. This, in my opinion, was in many ways Trench Crusade's last chance to, well, prove me wrong, to demonstrate that they were actually going to be an agnostic miniature war game, that they were trying to go, to try at least to live up to the promises they themselves made. And again, I don't even have that much of a direct complaint as to their precise business model. This should simply have been the assumed position of anyone creating a brand new IP. It sure as hell is mine. I do want to make some sort of a community license to allow people to create things within the setting, but it's obviously going to be heavily controlled, and we're obviously going to enforce our own intellectual property. The problem is that you promised to be different, and then you elected, once you saw the money, once you saw, as you yourself said here, what was it? The lifetime opportunity or whatever I read earlier. Aha, there we go. Represents the income and careers of our teammates. A lifetime opportunity that represents income. The moment you saw that, you turned around, pissed on all of your supposed principles, and slammed down with what is this? This is not a community license. There's nothing within here that has anything to do with granting the community any rights or special abilities or special allowances whatsoever. It's just copyright, and that's all it is. Because, again, Trench Crusade are lying pieces of shit. And I am happy to continue to document that fact as I continue to build my case against them. That's why I do this, to continue to illustrate to however many people will listen that these are not good people and should never be trusted. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.